Today, I'm going to talk about a technique that narcissists use to create an easy, efficient way for them to push your buttons and get you to react. Once you recognize this technique, you'll be better able to defend yourself against it. Welcome to Looking Behind the Mirror, where we explore narcissism and take our lives back as we make sense out of nonsense. As a quick disclaimer, everything I say is based on my opinions and my personal experiences. I'm not a professional, and if you're really struggling, I encourage you to seek professional help. I am providing links below for you. I've talked quite extensively about how narcissists really rely on being able to provoke you, upset you, get reactions out of you, and there are a lot of ways to do this. However, it takes a lot of emotional energy to keep coming up with new things. If every time the narcissist feels a little bored or uneasy or just feels the urge to provoke you for whatever reason, they have to come up with a new way to do it, it would be really difficult for them. I mean, how many insults can you come up with? So narcissists engage in what I like to call abuse campaigns. And if you've been the subject of narcissistic abuse, I can almost guarantee you that you have been the subject of probably many different abuse campaigns. These are things that the narcissist returns to over and over and over again. And maybe the narcissist leaves them alone for months at a time, but they'll always pick them back up again. These things are the epitome of making mountains out of molehills. These are things that you probably dread coming up in conversation. These are probably things that you try to avoid. I have several different examples for this that might all sound a little strange, but if you've experienced these kinds of things, I think you'll be able to relate. The first most generic type of example I can come up with is, let's say that you live with your narcissistic abuser, so you naturally share a kitchen, and let's say you have a garbage disposal in your sink. And let's say that you're somebody that's really trying to please this narcissistic partner of yours. You're really trying to make him or her happy. And let's say one day they notice that the garbage disposal's dirty, and they mention, oh, the garbage disposal smells weird. When's the last time you cleaned it? And for whatever reason, probably just your personality, you reacted in a slightly defensive way. You felt like maybe you'd failed them because you didn't clean the garbage disposal well enough and now it smells funny. The narcissist notices this response, notices that this got a little bit of a reaction out of you, that it made you feel a little bit inferior or a little bit like a failure. And so they added this to their collection of abuse campaigns. And from that day forward, the garbage disposal became a subject that you dreaded, a subject that you tried to avoid, something that you focused a lot of your energy on. You really started paying attention to how clean the garbage disposal was. And every now and then the narcissist brings it back up and says, this smells weird. I thought you said that you were cleaning it. Or, when's the last time you cleaned this? Or, how are you cleaning this? And somehow there's always some way that you're doing it wrong or you didn't do it enough. Or maybe the narcissist went 3 or 4 months without ever mentioning the garbage disposal, so you stopped concentrating on it so much, and maybe it's been 2 weeks since you cleaned the garbage disposal, heaven forbid, and that's when the narcissist comes along and notices how disgusting and filthy it is now. And of course, that's when you panic, because for whatever reason, this has become this huge mountain out of a molehill. This is the thing that upsets the narcissist the most. This is the symbol for what a grand failure you are to the narcissist's expectations. And the funny thing is, with this garbage disposal example, when you get down there and look at it yourself or try to smell it yourself, or maybe you even get to the point where you're putting a flashlight down there trying to understand why the narcissist thinks it's so dirty. It seems fine to you, and maybe the narcissist tries to tell you that something's wrong with you if you think that the garbage disposal's clean, and so now you start doubting your own judgment. This kind of abuse campaign can go on for years, where the narcissist doesn't mention the garbage disposal for 3 or 4 months, and then all of a sudden in a 2-week period you're having 3-hour arguments every other night about the garbage disposal. And no matter how hard you try to keep it clean the right way, you can never meet the narcissist's expectations. And you also find yourself arguing about why it's such a big deal. Why is the narcissist so angry about the garbage disposal that veins are popping out of his neck and his eyes are going black and he's screaming at you and calling you names, and you're trying to understand, why is this making you so angry? And of course, trying to understand why it makes them so angry makes them even angrier. Now, to get to the point of my video, how narcissists create these little shortcuts for themselves, this drama of the garbage disposal turns into a situation in which anytime the subject of the garbage disposal comes up, maybe the narcissist just leans over the sink to get something. You start panicking a little bit. You are dreading this subject. You are thinking, please, let's not talk about the garbage disposal tonight. Or you're thinking, oh my gosh, did I clean it? Did I clean it well enough? When's the last time I cleaned the garbage disposal? I totally forgot about it. And if it's mentioned, you absolutely just fly into a panic. Where if you were in a normal relationship that was somewhat healthy and you were having a normal night and your partner asked about the cleanliness of the garbage disposal, you wouldn't normally have an extreme emotional reaction. You wouldn't normally panic when your partner asks you about how clean the garbage disposal is. But because the narcissist is a narcissist and the narcissist has created this abuse campaign around the garbage disposal, the mention of it makes you panic. The mention of it is very upsetting, very disturbing, and you're preparing and bracing yourself for an endless barrage of questions, an endless argument, and a night that's completely ruined. So to go back to my original point, constantly coming up with criticisms about you that truly affect the way you feel takes a lot of hard work and creativity. But now the narcissist has kind of done the hard work up front by conditioning you to be absolutely scared to death to talk about something as innocuous as a garbage disposal. They don't have to really do any more work now. All they have to do is bend down and look at the garbage disposal, and your buttons have been pushed. You've gone from 0 to 60 in a panic. All they have to do is ask, when's the last time you cleaned this? And automatically you've got a 3-hour explosive argument ready to go. And that's what they want. That's what they're looking for. And that's the situation they've created to make it easy for them to just push your buttons and start the chaos that they're craving that night for whatever reason. So I want to give you a few more examples of abuse campaigns if this particular one doesn't resonate with you. I think different styles of narcissists have different styles of abuse campaigns. And no matter what their style may be, any narcissist is going to have a collection of abuse campaigns. They're going to have a whole basket full of tricks that they can go to. And that's part of why they could go months without using one in particular, because they're probably using another one. Maybe that one kind of wears out or they get tired of it, and so they pick up an old one. And that's why it seems like the narcissist is so incredibly concerned about how clean the garbage disposal is one week, and then for like 4 or 5 months they don't seem to care about it at all, and then all of a sudden it becomes the most important thing in the world again. It's because it never really was important to them. They don't really care about how clean the garbage disposal is. They just care about creating something that makes it easy for them to create a reaction in you. So some more examples of what I would consider abuse campaigns would be something like, maybe you're dating somebody that's really, really talented at something. Let's say that they are a really, really good tennis player, and you're just starting to date them and you're just getting interested in them and you're just starting to build a relationship and you're really kind of head over heels for them. You really like them a lot. And so you decide to take up tennis, and they are teaching you how to play tennis because they are really, really good at it. And at first, it begins as this fun, enjoyable bonding activity. Maybe it's even part of why you fall in love with this person, because you have so much fun learning how to play tennis with this person. But if you're with a narcissist, over time, this activity is going to turn into an abuse campaign. And in this particular situation, maybe it turns into a situation where no matter how hard you try, no matter how many hours you practice, no matter how many videos you watch on the subject, or no matter how hard you listen, you can never be a good enough tennis player. And after a while, the narcissist starts judging you and criticizing you and micromanaging every little way that you do whatever you're doing when you're playing tennis, and they get angry at you and they tell you you're not listening and you're not trying, and then maybe they offer intermittent praise. All of a sudden, you're doing great, wow, you're finally getting it, and you don't know why. Suddenly what you're doing is good enough because nothing really changed. And then they go right back to criticizing you again after they give you this intermittent praise. Maybe they even give you a few months of reprieve. Maybe they give you a few months where they stop being so critical of you, but they always pick it back up because it's an abuse campaign that they use to emotionally provoke you. They might say things to you like, you only do this because of me. You just play tennis because it's what I want you to do. And I mean, what can you say to something like that? So this activity that you used to love, this activity that actually created this bonding between you, now becomes this abusive torture. And in a way, you probably feel obligated to continue doing it, but you probably also dread it and try to avoid it and hope that, okay, when we go play tennis today, I hope that he or she doesn't notice the way I'm doing this or that. I hope that I can do it good enough and not be yelled at today. Okay, now I want to talk about a more ambiguous kind of example. Maybe you're with your partner and your partner tells you that they want you to be more outgoing and social. You're too introverted. Their friends think that you're rude and cold. You need to get out there more and be friendlier. And this feels unnatural to you, but for whatever reason, the narcissist is somebody that you trust, that you love. And maybe you don't have the self-esteem to realize that your introversion, or maybe you're not even introverted at all. Maybe they're just making that up. But whatever it is, whatever this personality flaw you have, maybe you don't have the self-esteem to realize that you are just fine the way you are, and that the narcissist doesn't have the right to criticize you in that way, and that there's nothing wrong with you. If somebody that you love and trust and look up to and you're emotionally vulnerable to is telling you, hey, you need to be more like this. If we don't have the self-esteem developed to feel confident to push back against that, we're going to just take that person at their word. We're going to assume that we really do need to change. And so for this particular example, maybe you do put an extra effort into being more outgoing and more social, and then somehow this comes back to bite you. Maybe the narcissist starts accusing you of flirting with people or being too open with people. Somehow you just can never win. You can never really meet the narcissist's expectations. And in any kind of abuse campaign, including the ones I just mentioned, there's always this element of confusion. Like, what do you actually want from me? It's really hard to understand what it is the narcissist actually wants. And the reason for that is that they really don't care about the thing that they're saying. They don't really care how clean the garbage disposal is. They don't really care how good of a tennis player you are. They don't really care if you're social and outgoing. They care about collecting these abuse campaigns that they can use to upset you. They care about being able to control you emotionally. And when you're sitting there trying to understand, what does this person want from me? I'm trying my best, and no matter what I do, it's never good enough, and what they're asking never makes any sense. Well, that's because that is the whole point, because they want you to feel like that, and that's all they really wanted. And I think that's the really important thing to understand with these abuse campaigns, is that you don't really have any control over these. They aren't going to make sense because the point is not what is being complained about. These are designed to upset you. So like with my example of the garbage disposal, you might put a lot of energy into trying to understand what is wrong with the garbage disposal, whether or not it's actually dirty or why your partner thinks it's dirty. And you'll miss the whole point that that has absolutely nothing to do with it, that the garbage disposal is probably just fine, that you've cleaned it well enough. And these abuse campaigns create these really deep feelings of inadequacy. It's really deeply ingrained in us to blame ourselves, to believe the things that are being said to us, to believe, like in my example of the tennis player, to really believe that your partner is deeply disappointed in you because you're not a good enough tennis player. and that this truly is your failure, your fault. If you could just try a little bit harder, if you could just listen a little bit better, somehow you're going to finally get that point. And this is because we're with somebody that we love and trust. If somebody that we love and trust, and maybe we've pledged our whole life to, is telling us that they're very, very, very upset that we never ever listen to them, and therefore we're not a good enough tennis player, or therefore something in the house isn't as clean as it should be, and it really bothers them that you can't seem to keep things clean enough, or you can't seem to just meet some basic standards. It really takes a huge leap to get to the point where you're able to recognize that this person that you love and trust and have pledged your whole life to is saying these things to upset you. Doesn't really mean what they're saying. Somebody that you love and trust, you assume that if they complain about how dirty the garbage disposal is, it must be because they think the garbage disposal is dirty. And it's really heartbreaking, really disturbing, and just, I mean, it's really beyond description how heartbreaking it is and how horrifying it is to realize that someone that you thought you knew is being that deceitful, is driving you crazy for things that just help them feel a little bit better about themselves in the moment, lying to you about why they're upset, and lying to you in a way that makes you feel bad about yourself. These abuse campaigns create residual trauma where years later, you can't look at a garbage disposal without feeling a little bit of panic, remembering how futile it was, how helpless you used to feel, how backed into a corner you used to feel, what a failure you used to feel like, and how much fear you used to feel. For the example of the tennis player, maybe you really honestly enjoyed tennis, but got to a point where you could never play it again, and you actually felt a panicked reaction just seeing other people playing tennis. So even after you come to the horrifying reality that these things were put into place just to hurt you, just to get a reaction out of you, it still takes a very, very long time to heal. And I think a lot of these abuse campaigns are things that we never really completely heal from. But the point of this video is I want anyone out there that's suffering from anything like this to be able to see that it's not your failure. You're keeping the garbage disposal plenty clean enough. It's not something that you're doing wrong. Your personality is fine. Your tennis playing skills are fine. It's just that you're with someone that needs to keep coming up with different things to complain about. They're looking for reasons to criticize you, push your buttons, and make you keep trying and trying and trying to do something that's impossible. And with these abuse campaigns, most of them, the resolution seems just out of your reach. These are things that you either can't do or won't do. And as an example of something you won't do, maybe you're just dating the narcissist and the narcissist comes over to visit you sometimes, and every now and then your neighbor parks in the spot that your narcissist boyfriend or girlfriend likes to park. And so the narcissist comes and complains to you and tells you that you need to talk to your neighbor and tell your neighbor not to park in that spot, right? I mean, I think that's a good example of a situation where you might be thinking like, I'm not going to go talk to my neighbor and tell them where to park just in case my boyfriend or girlfriend wants to come over and visit and they don't want to have to park across the street. But then the narcissist will use this as an abuse campaign, and they will just keep bringing it up and bringing it up. And in this kind of situation, maybe the neighbor only parks there every now and then, so maybe months and months go by and you kind of just forget about it. Maybe you kind of just nod and say, yeah, okay, I'll talk to my neighbor sometime about that, and you hope that your boyfriend or girlfriend just kind of forgets about it. But then 6 months later they come to visit and your neighbor's parked in that spot again, and the narcissist comes in and yells at you for 3 hours for not talking to your neighbor about where they should park. It's not your job to tell your neighbor where to park if they are obeying the law, if they're obeying the rules of where you live. It's not your job to be a world-class tennis player. It's not your job to make sure the garbage disposal is clean to the narcissist's impossible standards. It's not your job to make sure that your personality is the kind of personality that your narcissist is pleased with and proud of. These abuse campaigns are designed to hurt you. They're designed to create reactions. They're designed to control you. They're designed to be able to create chaos at the push of a button, at the mention of something. It's not about you. It's not about anything you've done. It's an opportunity for the narcissist to make you panic. It's an opportunity that the narcissist finds to control you with. It's an opportunity for the narcissist to create things that you dread, things that you desperately want to try to avoid, things that you can't defend yourself against, things that really don't make any sense, things that are made way bigger of a deal than they really are, and things that even if you are able to solve one of these problems, another problem is just going to come right back up and take its place. Narcissists are impossible to please. They don't want to be happy. They don't want you to meet their expectations. They need somebody to pick on. They need a punching bag, and they need to create buttons to push so that they don't have to put too much work and creativity into knowing how to send you off into a tailspin if they feel the urge to provoke you, or they need to relieve their boredom, or they need to remind themselves of how relevant they are and how in control of your emotions they are. No matter how much they torment you, it's never enough. But don't let these abuse campaigns trick you into thinking that any of this is your fault. These are all just ways to create easy fear, chaos, and control. I hope this helps. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and comment below any ideas you have for me for future videos. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you like this video and would like to see more like it in the future. Until next time, thanks. Bye.